clients are in technology, building, platforms, analytics tools, or carbon modeling systems, so on and so forth. But from a technical element, I'm not a tech guy by nature. It's not what I've done or what I've studied or experienced. So for me, it's like breath of fresh air, doing something completely different. But also, I get to mix that in with something I'm really passionate about, which is obviously the corporate tax and business finance space. But yeah, it's been a good journey so far. And went to Web Summit in Lisbon a couple of months ago, which was a really good experience and eye-opening, really. Quite humbling to see just how advanced and capable technologists and startups are. But yeah, just learning. And I think I've always been a learned person. Want to absorb information and apply that information in unique ways, which is exactly what we're doing with AG Finance. So that's my 2 minutes of boring spiel. But yeah, that's my journey, you could say, in a nutshell.
And I think that's indicative of a lot of kind of founders' journey, where they work in different industries, sometimes in different teams, in order to soak up enough skills to have that kind of generalist base of expertise to be able to build products and go out to market. And as you've been in those different roles, well, I know from speaking to you, you've picked up expertise in sales and experience in sales. And that's what we want to focus in on today. And what's your sales scoop for today? What is your one thing that you'd want to bring to the table or share with our audience that they should be focusing on, that you'd be able to talk about a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think authenticity for me is the number one pillar, you could say, or like bit of advice or golden nugget I'd give to anybody who's doing anything remotely linked to sales or business development or partnership building or whatever other creative name people call it these days. I'd say authenticity, and I think it's something that's massively overlooked as a whole, to be honest. I think partly due to the self-serving interests of doing sales, and B, I think being so caught up in, I've got this, do you want this? Here's how I can help you, or do you want to book a discovery call? Just sort of everything is so focused on the sale, where I think people forget to step back and approach it from a slightly different angle. And that's something that's always worked for me. And I'm not sure if that's because of my nature naturally, being somebody who's always not been afraid to share what I know or give something that can help others. And, that in turn has helped me massively with clients, and so on and so forth. Or if it's just luck. But I'd say I've carried that through pretty much everything that I've done, and it's paid dividend to me. And I think it would be very useful to anyone in sales to add a bit of authenticity into their bucket.
Yeah, before we get into like how, because it's a big emotional topic, turning up as the real you, coming across as 100% as you, and there's some natural tensions there. Certainly, people, when you're working for a business and you're taking a salary, you're not one of the founders. There is a bit of tension there. Before we get into that, where have you seen that working well?
Yeah.
In terms of like mentors or other areas of
so in terms of where did I get it from, I don't think it's necessarily something that you get from something or you like poach. I don't know, it's partly I'd say it naturally came about. My brother, he's a engineering construction wizard. He's a very, very authentic guy, just in all areas of life. And I remember when he joined our company a few years back, he was the highest performing business developer in the company by a long way. And he wasn't even a sales guy. And when I took a look at what it was that attributed to that, it was his authenticity. You know, whether that was authenticity in building relationships that are meaningful, connections he'd made, you know, giving people advice, going the extra mile. I would put a lot of the work that came through, or the partnerships or introductions, was because they liked how he was. They had formed good relationships with him because of how he carried himself and how he, you know, interacted with those businesses and different people in industry. And so that was sort of, you know, one part of it that I've seen firsthand. And then the other is just experience. So yeah, just experience in doing and being that way myself, and then seeing the results of it, but not in a way where, I would say almost like serendipity. And I can go into a bit more about how that interlinks and how that works. But yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yeah, well, yeah, give us some more detail. What are your thoughts on the serendipity in that
Yeah,
area?
sure. So lockdown hit. God, I couldn't give you the dates, but God knows when we had lockdown. Prior to lockdown, obviously, I had a clothing brand. We did some campaigns in New York. Really enjoyed it. I loved the creative element. Enjoyed obviously the freedom of being a founder. When lockdown hit, obviously investors pulled out. Fashion being a very capital intensive industry couldn't continue. Nobody could really work. We all, you know, in our houses. This whole pandemic thing is going on. And I remember just having like a thought about, okay, what are you interested in? What do you want to learn about? What are you passionate about? And I reached out to a number of orthopedic surgeons in the UK, but 6 in total, right? And I asked about, you know, can I learn more about the long-term effects of stem cell therapy? And as I reached out to him, just before I reached out to him, I also looked at his website and what he was doing. And I created a digital marketing plan. And I said, I was very honest. I said, look, you know, Mr. X, my aunt is thinking about having this. I'm interested in learning why. Here's a bit about me and my background. I was honest. I said, look, to be completely transparent, I'm not a marketing. I don't have an agency, but this is what I'm looking to do, and this is what I can do. If you're not in the market for this, or you're too busy, see attached my ebook that I've created. It will give you all the information to do what I will do for you, and you can keep it. And that ebook was very good. If he had followed it, he could have done it himself completely. I also did want to learn about the stem cells and, you know, all about molecular and cellular regeneration. I was going to medicine at university until I changed my A levels. In my first bit of the first year, you know, when you're in school, whatever. And he came back to me. He said, "Let's jump on a call and we can have a conversation." And I remember in my email, I also mentioned, if you want me to do it for you, I'll do it for free. I said, no cost, no problem. And I jumped on a Zoom with him. We had a great conversation, and I began handling his digital marketing at no cost. Did that for a little while, and then it turned out he had a number of different clinics. I got one clinic, had a second, I got a third. Then got a retainer. Didn't know what a retainer was. Googled what's a retainer. Set up an agency, and that cycle sort of continued to start getting paid, getting more medical clients, so on and so forth. But that all stemmed and started from the fact that in that moment, yes, I wanted to work with this person. I also wanted to learn from this person, but I didn't care, is he going to put money in my pocket? And I didn't care if he'd be interested in doing those services with me. I actually wanted him to succeed because I was passionate about his field, and I deeply admired and respected what he was doing and what he was contributing. And I think if you take those two factors, I'd put those. I think that came across not only in the email to him, but in our dialogue when we were speaking together.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you know, and when I did that, and that really surprised me, because for me it was like, I didn't see this coming, but look what's come out of the fact of just being authentic, being honest, and doing something genuine for, you know, the betterment of another without any vested interest. And that went on for a while. Ended up having a you know, a share agreement with him, and I still work with them to this date. His name is Mr. Fahad Attar at Regenesis Orthobiologics. Recently was awarded a Global Orthopedic Surgeon of the Year.
Okay.
That relationship was all came down and built upon just being authentic. And I was saying earlier, where do you pick that up from? So I'd got that sort of feedback loop, right, from that experience with the doctor, with the surgeon, and continuing that way of being, i.e., not being attached to the outcome, being very sort of laissez-faire with my approach of services and what I can do for people. And then, I got speaking with a very, very good corporate lawyer, and we sort of entered into the tax sphere together. That then journey that I described earlier, what took place, has led me to AG Finance Hub, right? If it wasn't for that moment of authenticity and being genuine and just having that sort of organic value exchange with that man, that lawyer wouldn't have ever given an opportunity to go into business with him, nor would have ended up in this field. And I think you see a lot whereby, salespeople or business developers, it's like, let's do a discovery call, or here's a free whatever, and then they upsell you massively. Or you get some people, and it's like, especially in the services-based business, they can help you, but unless you're signing a contract or paying the fees they want, they're not going to help you. And look, I'm not saying people don't deserve to get paid for what they do. Absolutely, they do. But I think if you truly, if you're good at what you do, and you truly care what you do, and you can add value, if you communicate that in an efficient, performant, and honest way to another business owner, they will see that, and any smart business person would register. Okay, this guy or this woman is adding value to what I'm doing. Let me see what they have to say, right? And I think that allows you to sort of get yourself in front of who you need to, and then after that, the stage is yours. You've then created that opportunity of, what people say, getting your foot in the door or getting a trial, what have you not. And it's built upon, okay, this guy's saying to me that he doesn't care if you use him or not. He's told me what he knows. And he's also said, by the way, if you don't want to pay me or you don't want to take my services or you're not in the market for it, happy days. Here's what I know. That seems genuine, because it's like, and I think that also slightly confuses people, because they're like, well, if he's telling me what he knows for free and I can do it myself, I also know he has something of value that I'd be paying him for. What more can he give me? What more can this person exchange with me? And I think that's missing. That's missing a lot of sales. A lot of times, not only the way people sell, but the sales style of people as well. So that would be sort of how I've learned it is from doing it and seeing the results, and then having like good role models. The lawyers that I worked with, obviously very authentic guy, honest, laid back chap. The doctors and surgeons I've had the pleasure of working with, very, very authentic. Obviously, they have to be, right? Very emotionally in tune, very switched on, very calm, very caring, compassionate individuals. And then, firsthand, obviously, in my family sphere, I'd say, both my parents are very authentic people. And my brother, especially, it's weird. It's like, he's a top sales guy in his own way. He's not a salesman. It's naturally just comes to him. And I think looking at that and observing that and taking that data in and absorbing it and then reapplying it, has worked wonders for me. And I would say categorically, what I'm doing now would not be in place or existing if I hadn't done what I was doing, or had that moment of authenticity with that surgeon.
So that's really nice the way you describe that, working with that surgeon, where you're doing something without expecting anything in return, sharing your expertise, taking your time. It's not a hard sell. So that makes sense. What were you doing it differently previously then? In years before that, were you kind of selling in an inauthentic way? How was it different when you felt like you were more inauthentic?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm only 28 years old, right? I haven't had tons and tons of sales experience. I went to uni, worked in a startup. The role I did in a startup wasn't a sales role. It was creating a business from the ground up, generating funding, setting up operations. So it wasn't a sales role. Thereafter, my startup, my fashion brand, it wasn't a salesy role. I've always sort of done things which I am passionate about, and B, sort of which intuitively feels like this is what I should be doing. And I think when you're passionate about something and you're following your intuition and you're doing something that you care about, I don't think sales comes into it. And I think that's part of the disconnect. A lot of people in sales jobs, they may love their jobs. Is it what they are truly, truly passionate about? Or are they there because career has led them there and then they have other commitments whereby they need to have a paycheck to pay for their rent, mortgage, kids, what have you not? And, shifting it back one step further, I think authenticity can also be applied to, how you live your life, right? I believe if people pursued what they were passionate about and what they truly wanted to do, in this one life that they have, they wouldn't necessarily be. Not saying they wouldn't. Obviously, well, if everybody did that, there wouldn't be anybody with jobs, and we'd all society would collapse. But I think not enough people are authentic with themselves about what it is they want in life and what they're passionate about. And I think it starts like that. For me, it did anyway. And going through that journey and doing the things that I've wanted to do has allowed me to do something that I'm always passionate about. And I've never had to have or do those sort of hard sales, if you were. Yeah, and look, even with what I'm doing now, yes, I have a job. I work in a startup, albeit it's my own one. I still have responsibilities as every other employee or would have. The difference is my perhaps style and approach is unique because I'm passionate about it and it's what I want to be doing, and I've always been like that. I think that that's important for everybody to explore, as opposed to I'm in a job, I've got KPIs, I've got a target, sell, hit my target, get a bonus, and that cycle repeats.
And that's the essence here. The essence here is that if everybody could be as lucky or as driven as you and only chase something that they really care about, then sales is easier, right? But the truth is that people end up, like you say, organically in a particular role. They end up at a company that they haven't founded. They're a small cog in a huge machine, and their job is to go and sell widgets X, Y, and Z. Um, and unsurprisingly, they can't get excited about it because
There you go.
it's not their they didn't build those widgets. It isn't their company. It isn't their vision. And I think that's what leads to the inauthenticity in sales, where people are trying to sell something but they don't really care about it. They're not really on board,
Yeah,
and obviously their salary, right, their mortgage, their food, and their bills are tied to that. So they have to go for it, but they're not really on the bus, and that leads to that tension. So
agreed.
you're very lucky that you're in a position where you've been chasing that, and actually, it would be fantastic if we could, roll the kind of job salt shaker of society, and everybody ended up doing exactly the thing that they were really passionate about. I'm not sure everything would get sorted, but I'm sure a lot of people would be very happy. That the truth is, it takes a lot of gumption to found something and start off down your own road, and not everybody has that liberty. So it makes sense. If you really care about it, then it's a lot easier. And I found that when I was working at helping to grow digital marketing agencies and growing them and then being acquired, I was effectively selling the services of those agencies. And I remember one moment, Aaron, where I was at a networking event, and ostensibly we were there to sell or to engage buyers. And I remember, having to finish my beer and kind of drag myself away from the bar to go and meet people. And it was almost like, right, what's this agency strap line? Right, okay, that's what I'm gonna trot out. And it just felt completely wrong.
Yeah, yeah. No, look, I agree, and I agree with you. And I think you said something earlier about incredibly lucky, but is it luck though? I would strongly disagree. I think it's choice. I think people have the choice. Everyone has a choice to do something that they want to do or they don't want to do. I think part of it is courage, and I think society is designed in a way to knock people's confidence, and we put each other down and compare ourselves and so on and so forth. But I think the choice is there for everybody. I think the bravery and courage and the grit and determination is something that you can acquire. But ultimately, it's a choice. And, even in that exchange with the surgeon, yes, eventually I did get paid. But even in that moment, it's like, I was doing that for me. I wasn't doing that in terms of for somebody else or another company. I was doing something that I actually wanted to do. And even up until till today, with the businesses that I have, most of the sort of model that I operate in is always value driven. You don't pay me anything or our company anything until you get a tangible benefit, right? I've got clients at the minute, some really, really, really good ones who we could have a 3 or 4 year engagement. And on the second or third year, I'll waiver the fee and say, do you know what? And that's just because I look at it like, right, I like working with you. I like your business. I have earned some money from doing this. I also want to form a long-term relationship. And I've done that a few times. When it comes to renewing the engagement, the client says, right, let's do 5 years again. Let's do 4 years again. Most people wouldn't think to do that because they just focus on the here and now. What is the immediate gratification or benefit to me of getting that retainer? But I think if you take a step back and look at it from a sort of different lens, there's a lot more to gain by being authentic and helping another person out, or being sort of interested or vesting your interest in another person's success. That goes a long way, and I think that's missing quite a lot in our generation. And for sales specific, I think a lot of the sales advice you see and online or on Google or YouTube, it's very regurgitated. It's very saturated. And you've got much more experience than I have, Alistair. You've been on a sales call with somebody and they're doing the typical, get the person to say yes repeatedly throughout the call because that will prime them subconsciously to say yes to the service. So I had one of them the other week. At the end of the call, the guy goes, just quickly, put a piece of paper, and he goes, is your name Aaron Gera? Yes. Is your date of birth 11/11? Is your email this? Do you do this? And I knew what he was doing. I found it funny. And I was like, I'm a bit of a troll, Alistair. So I got a piece of paper. And I said, in what? I said, in any capacity, do you think I'm stupid? And he goes, no. And I was like, that's the answer to if you and I are going to work together. Honestly, I worked in the guy's business, and he had a good company. But for me, it was just like, I understand you're trying to be a good salesman and you're trying to make yourself better, but the context and the way in which you've applied it shows to me I am just a number in your sales target, or you've treated me the same as you would every other person. I think there's a lot to take away from doing things differently and being authentic.
Yeah, and I think for people watching live or watching the recording back, the big takeaway here is if you're not running your own company, you haven't founded something, it's not born from you, then the way it's harder because you're trying to chase like immediate sales, and actually the way to get around it as a founder seller, is to either invest yourself more in the product and your buyers, do more research with the buyers to understand how that product can help them, because that can help you feel empathetically closer to them, like it can actually change their world. But also just to take your time a bit more, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where authenticity is left on the side, because there isn't time to be authentic. And actually, if everybody slowed down in sales and you spent more time with a human, then that would go. So look, thanks for that. It's been great chatting to you. If people, if anybody wants to go and download your app, they can currently get it at agfinancehub.com, which is available for on the Play Store and as an Apple download as well. If anybody wanted to talk to you about your views on authentic selling or AG Finance, how could they get in touch with you?
They could drop me a message on LinkedIn. Do get spammed a lot, but a message on LinkedIn if it's authentic and I think it's genuine, I'll give it a glance. Or if somebody wanted to talk about authenticity, I think you'd be a good person, Alistair. I've known you for like nearly a year, and we've had a lot of conversations, right? From the moment that we engaged with one another, your approach is very authentic. You gave me loads of advice on, creating content, marketing, sales structures, Squarespace for the website, do this, your link's not right here. Let me review this for you. And, at the moment, you and I, we don't have a scope of services or contractual working relationship, right, in place. But I know that will happen at some point in the near future because enough value and authenticity has been exchanged whereby you've given a lot to me from your years of experience. You've shown interest in my journey, in my product, in my business, and you haven't been like, yeah, I can give you this, but it's going to cost you X, or if you do this, I'll show you how to do Y. I'm sure there are loads of paid services you can offer me, but there has been numerous occasions and events where you have repeatedly demonstrated that you have an interest, you're authentic in your approach, and that's reinforced by each time you do it. So then I look at it and think, okay, this person actually gives a TOSS, he cares, and he's not in it for a quick buck or to earn a few quid. So yeah, on that note, I'd say if not me, I think Alistair Cole would be a great chap to speak to about authenticity and sales.
Well, that's very kind of you. You mentioned our actually Squarespace and website in there, and if anybody's struggling as a founder with sales, you could go to our website and download the latest white paper on the Empowered Founder Seller. It's at upliftpartnership.com/white paper. It's free. We're just giving that away as the beginning of 2025. Our thoughts on 5 areas. Our next live show a week today, it'll be Kieran Gill and I talking about from seed to Series A, how technology businesses need to demonstrate growth to investors in order to close the next level of funding, Tuesday 28th at midday. And if you're interested in catching any of the other shows, you can head over to thesalescoop.com and see all our past shows. That's us. We're out of time for today. All that's left for me is to say thank you very much, Aaron. Thanks for your time.
Likewise, Alistair. Thank you very much. And it's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, you too. Okay. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, everybody, for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.